It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is Stephen Piercy with Arcade, and kicking off the show there with Jason Bonham Band with Change of Season. And it is a change of season, unfortunately, because tonight, right after the show, you'll be changing your clocks back to that dreaded time. But speaking of Arcade and Calm Before the Storm, the guy that brings the storm approaching the mic is our good friend and partner, Chris Aiken. What's going on, Chris?
There's no calm over here, man. I'm ready to fucking strangle somebody.
Now what happened?
It's just the culmination of a really fucking bad week.
Really?
Dude, it has been just a fucked up week with everything from, well, let's see. I don't know, my back's been hurting again, which is not good.
Well, maybe you need to get the X chair.
Well, I got the new X mattress. Boy, I bought a new mattress, an extra firm, and it does seem to be helping. So apparently my big fat fucking bag of goo is not meant for memory foam.
Okay.
So there's that. Let's see. The lawsuit that I was in that I thought was over just snuck back into my life again with a new fucking convoluted way to waste more of my money.
Okay.
I don't know. I got a text on Friday from a friend saying, it's not worth it. I'm going to go kill myself. So I had to go deal with that. It's just been a bag of fun. This fucking server company that is doing the fucking sites. Of course, you all can get in the chat room. I, of course, as the admin of it, cannot tonight. You know, they've got my IP address somehow blocked.
Okay.
And I've been fighting with them all fucking week. So I'm literally ready. Last night was a good night because I did something I don't normally do. I closed the fucking laptop and just started drinking. My AJ came over here last night and we just sat around watching wrestling and drinking our faces off last night just to change directions.
Well, sometimes you got to do that.
Ugh. Just a bad week, man.
Well, after a month long of nothing but birthday celebration, you were bound to hit a snag somewhere along the way.
Yeah, no shit. The roller coaster really did go the other way, didn't it?
The pendulum swings the other way.
That's right.
What was that song?
Pendulum?
Yeah, on the Opie and Anthony. That
a Pendulum by Steve C.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, who ironically killed himself.
Yeah, he did kill himself, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
The pendulum swung the wrong way for him.
Yeah, swung through his heart and killed him.
Wow. So, are you able to do the show tonight? Are you just full of rage to where you can't even turn the mic on?
Believe me, if it was that, I'd have called you at about 7 o'clock saying, dude, I'm too fucking tired. No, I need the show tonight. I need some ha-ha funny tonight, too.
Yeah, well, we had some ha-ha funny last week.
Dude, for the life of me, I have no idea why I thought the guy that got run over by car sounded like a retard. But that fucking impression made me laugh and laugh this week.
Well, it wasn't that he was a retard. It was just that he probably was so mangled that it affected his speech.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely my retard voice. And I even listened back and I was like, he wouldn't sound like that. He'd probably still be screaming. But whatever. It was funny.
Well, I got to give accolades to the fans in the chat room because they would definitely help spur that segment on, as well as the Teen Mom segment.
Oh, yeah, that was good, too.
That Teen Mom segment had me dying.
Yep, good stuff.
Yeah, so maybe we'll have a repeat show this week and do some silly shit this week as well.
Let's hope so. I know you sent me that silly video today. I just about fucking spit on my computer laughing at how stupid that girl was.
Oh, yeah, the was it the Great White one?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Oh, boy. I was sitting there. I was drinking a little bottle of iced tea, and you sent it over to me, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch it right away.
Yeah,
I pulled it up right away because that's, you get an email, you click it, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, let me see what this is about. And if it's about 2 minutes, I'll watch it. But the thing you sent me was like 58 minutes long.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, 58 minutes, fuck this. And I just kind of put it aside for a while. And then I got to a point where I was like transitioning from one thing I was working on to the next. So I was like, let me put this on for 5 minutes and just kind of scan through it. When I got to that chick, I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. They can't make them that stupid. They can't make them that stupid.
Well, we'll cover that a little bit. That's something our good friend Sal had shared with me this afternoon, and I was like, this is such a train wreck.
Just a dummy. Just
a train wreck. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
Of course.
But, yeah, glad to be back here on the Classic Metal Show. My week, for the most part, was just stressful. I mean, it was just from business standpoint, was just stressful.
Sure.
It's just, I hate to say it, but, having too much business sometimes can be, not always a good thing.
Right.
You got so much you can't handle it all.
Right. And the weird thing is with your business too, without getting fully into your business, and I could be wrong on this too, because I don't work there, but my impression is from, knowing the players, which I do, your business is in that unique middle spot right now. Too busy for what you have, but not quite busy enough to accommodate bringing in 3, 4, 5 more people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's right on that tipping point to where it's we got too much business for what we got capacity for, but not enough business to where it would warrant bringing in additional players.
Right. You're like another year away.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome in one regard, and it will be awesome in a year, but day to day, not so awesome. Day to day, you're like, fuck, do I really got to deal with this and this problem? And this is the kind of problems we had when we were a baby company. And
right.
You were telling me the one problem this week when I talked to you, and I was like, yeah, that's a fucking starter company growing pain. I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I survived it, but I did have a nice little thing happen, or I made happen this week that made all the difference in the world and kind of gives you a little bit of a little boost, I guess, or makes you feel better. It's a feel good thing for me.
Okay.
I followed through on my promise, or what I was saying on the show here a week or so ago, that I had a house cleaning company come in and just go through my house and just clean it from top to bottom. And man, it was like a brand new house.
Right.
Just walking in here, just clean, sparkly clean, smells great, looks great. Just fantastic. It's like, wow, it was nice coming home every day this week.
Right. Well, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So if you ever get to the point where you just like, I need to get this place spruced up, man, I'm telling you what, if you have the extra cash in your pocket, it is so worth it just to have an outside cleaning company just come in and just give your house a good going over, because man, it makes you feel so much better about everything.
They'll probably charge me like $3,000 for the initial cleanup. My house is about 2 steps away from a Hoarders episode at this point. It really, because now, a project that I'm working on is this law firm that I'm doing some work for. He had a bunch, and when I say a bunch, I mean a full car trunk full of computer stuff.
Okay.
That he wanted me to take and clean up and see what could be used and what is too old to be used, etc. And because he wants to build a little mobile office, for himself and his secretary. So now, in addition to everything else that's all over the fucking place, and I'm gonna be honest, if a wife has any good value, it is that she will not let you just put things anywhere, because as a single guy, I just lay shit wherever I am. I just do, oh, here's a spot. Good, done, move on. And then I forget about it, and then I don't care. So then it just ends up being a hoarder house.
Of course.
But now, like right now in my living room, half of my living room is just covered with computers.
Oh, boy.
There's probably 3 or 4 desktops sitting on the floor, 3 or 4 printers, a box of wires and keyboards and mice and monitors on the kitchen table, and monitors in here on my spare desk, and printers on the chair. And I mean, I have computer shit everywhere right now.
Right.
And it's like, And really what I need to do is call and make the appointment and then just drive over there and take this guy all his bullshit back. But, I just haven't had time.
Right.
But yeah, dude, I'm with you on the cleanup, though. I need to do it, too. Maybe that'll be my Christmas present to myself.
Right.
Will just be to do that. Because otherwise, what am I going to do? I'm going to buy a bunch of junk. That's what I always do. I go to Best Buy and all right, I'm going to spend $500. And then I just buy something I don't need.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's like, fuck. And what else can I buy? That's the weird thing. Do you ever get to the point where you, want to buy yourself something, but you literally can't find anything?
Well, I'm at that point right now. I was looking, and again, I don't need anything. I don't need a thing. I got way too much of whatever it is that I use pretty much on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
But, I've been having this bug about buying a brand new flat panel for the bedroom.
Okay.
Now, I don't need one. The one that's in there, I got an LG. I mean, it is probably going on 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And nothing wrong with it. But I'm thinking, you know what? I'd like a little bit bigger one, and I'd like one with, more of a high def, a better refresh rate, and, something a little bit higher quality, maybe a 4K,
Yeah, and they're so cheap now.
Yeah, well, I was looking at an LG today, 55-inch with HD 4K, high refresh rate, everything, $499.
Yeah, cheap.
Yeah.
The TVs that I have in my bedroom, one of the TVs in my bedroom, because of course I have two, and and the one in my son's bedroom, they're both 55s, and I got two of them, and they're 4K and all that shit. I got two of them for $700.
Right.
Brand new at Best Buy on a sale.
Yeah, well, this was at Best Buy as well, and I was thinking, I don't really need it, but man, I'd like to have it, but so I'm in that phase of convincing myself to get it.
Right.
So this will go on for about 2 more weeks, and then I'll finally break down and get it.
Right. Once the stink from the maid service wears down, then you'll be like, oh, there's the next thing.
Well, I've got that contracted to come in once a month and go through the place once a month.
No, I get it, dude. Dude, but like we were saying with the gadgets, I bought myself for my birthday, I guess. I bought the Google Home Hub. Have you seen the Google Home Hub?
I have not.
You've seen the Google Home, though, right? It's a little...
Yes, I know what that looks like, yeah.
And you say, hey, Google, play this or whatever. It's actually pretty cool. I use it a lot more than I thought I would, the Google Home. The Google Home Hub it's the same thing, except it has a screen on it, like a little 7-inch screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you could watch TV or something on it, or, whatever. I'm just going to tell you, it was $150. It might be the most useless thing I've ever bought in my life. I wanted it because I didn't have one. No other reason than I didn't have one. So I bought it. And you know what I do with it? With this new great technology and the screen and whatever? I put it next to my bed, and it sits there and tells me the fucking weather and the time, like a $20 clock.
Or your iPhone.
Yeah, or my iPhone, which sits right next to it on one of those flat panel, no cord docking speaker things.
Yeah.
It's a charger and a speaker.
Yeah, it's a docking station.
Yeah, and my phone, whenever I go in the bedroom, automatically connects to it anyway, so I get the speaker use out of it anyway. I could literally, instead of saying, hey, Google, play, Disturbed or whatever, I could just say, hey, Siri, do it, and it'd do the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
But, of course, I needed it for some fucking stupid reason. I was like, I want to buy myself something. So I bought myself something useless. It's like the dumbest fucking thing ever. And the only time I could see that it would have any real value to a person is if you're 100% Chromecast guy.
Right.
Because if you're Chromecast guy only, it's pretty, like I use my Google, because, in my living room, I have an Amazon Firebox and I have a Chromecast, but I had to get the Chromecast because Amazon won't work with fucking YouTube, and I do YouTube TV.
Right.
So I bought the Chromecast to put it in there, and literally about the only thing I use the Google Home that's in the living room for is to tell it what channels to play. I'll be like, hey, Google, play USA Network. You know, that's the extent. Dude, I'm telling you, I buy such useless shit and try to integrate it into my life.
Right, I gotcha.
And I honestly believe that it's, I can't imagine what it would be like to have like $10 million. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I have maybe $10,000, and I'm like, and I sit there thinking, man, what else could I fucking buy?
Right.
Now I just am like, all right, you know what's cool? Having all my bills paid. That's where I'm at now. Is I'm at that point where I'm like, man, I need to go out somewhere so I can spend money. Not even because I want to go. Right. Just because I want to go and spend some money. Right. Because I don't have anything to do.
Yeah, you're bored.
I am bored.
Yeah.
But, is what it is, man. It's, it's a good place to be. I guess it's much better than I've been most of my life, where it's like, holy fuck, am I going to pay my electric bill or my rent?
Right.
I mean, I'm glad I'm not at that phase of my life anymore, but I'm with you. I am bored. Not bored enough to get a wife, but bored.
Well, nobody needs that.
No, not really. Dude, it's let me just tell a story that I probably shouldn't be telling on the air.
All right, but you're going to tell it anyway.
Tell it anyway. So, I've been asked, and I'm not going to say the players.
Okay.
I've been asked to be part of a friend's Thanksgiving.
Okay. I got that invite too.
Yeah, you do too, which I know you'll share at some point.
Right.
But my story is a lot more fucking stupid than your story.
Okay.
So I got the phone call yesterday and was like, hey, what are you doing? It's actually going to be on Friday instead of the Thursday for some reason. And I was like, they're like, what are you doing on Friday? And I was like, nothing that I know of other than the book release, which, that's it. And so I was asked, hey, do you want to come out to our, the family the family Thanksgiving? And I was like, sure. Yeah, that'll be cool. It's cool. Something to do, somewhere to be. I'm in. So that was from one side. Then I get the other side of the family, who I'm also friends with, that says, hey, says to me, what are you doing for Thanksgiving on that Friday? And I was like, well, I thought I was going here. Oh, no, you need to come to my house instead. And so now I'm in the middle of a fucking Thanksgiving feud sort of thing where the two sides are fighting about who's having Thanksgiving at their place. And it's like, I don't want this. I just want to eat some fucking turkey.
I hear you.
I don't want to. So now what? Now, no matter what I choose, I have three choices I can make, and all three make me a dick to somebody.
Well, the right thing to do is to honor the first commitment you made,
which I will do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's but meanwhile, I spent time on the phone today trying to say, well, why don't you guys, now I'm involved with trying to fix the actual overall problem instead of just showing up for a fucking meal. Now I'm like, well, why don't you offer to do it this year, but under the condition of next year it'll be at this person's house.
So you're in playing negotiator.
Yeah. Somehow I worked my way into that. It's like, what am I doing? Shut up. In my own head, this is where I need, this is where I need you to live with me, dude, where you'll walk up behind me, hearing me having this stupid conversation, and just belt me in the back of the head and say, dude, shut the fuck up. Go have your goddamn turkey and stuffing and then come back to the house.
Right.
Stop being a dummy. But of course, that's not how I run things.
Yeah.
So now I'm in the middle of it. It's like, why? I just want a fucking sandwich.
Yeah, that's it.
Holy shit. But
yeah, well, I know I would have just said, you're a little late. I already accepted an invitation, and
Yeah, well, and a part of it is that they haven't all agreed yet. They're fighting on who's having it.
Well, again, I wouldn't get involved with that.
Yeah, well, of course I did, because it's me. But yeah, my plan's not nearly as fun as yours. You have good plans.
Yeah, well, it came as a shock,
right,
to my own family,
right,
because one of my brother-in-laws who lived there in Akron, he called me up to buy a container from me.
Oh, okay, cool.
For his business. And so I arranged it, hooked that all up.
Right.
And then he says, well, I guess I'll see you at Thanksgiving then. And I was like, no, I don't think you will. Oh, really? Well, why not? I said, well, I'm going out of town for Thanksgiving. Well, what are you doing? It's like, well, my friend Don invited me out to have Thanksgiving at his house.
Right.
Oh, really? Well, I guess that made that decision pretty easy.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, if that invite was thrown at me, I think I'd make that choice too.
Think Don would have me? That way I'd get out of this other thing?
So you go, oh, so, and, then that, of course, got to other people. And it's like, you're doing what? It's like, yeah, I don't think you'll miss me. Believe me.
Yeah.
No, none of you talked to me through the year anyway. So what difference does it make?
Yeah. And boy, you're going into a lot better of a circumstance instead of sitting around going, oh, so you're working a new construction job, huh? How's that? Oh, little Mary got a new tooth? That's great. That is the worst, isn't it? When you do, I don't really have it so much, but every once in a great while, I'll have, like I did last year, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't fun either, where I had a bunch of relatives that came in from out of town. I guess it was last spring.
Okay.
And I had not seen them. Literally, I had that 12-year period where I didn't talk to my parents or basically any of my family.
Sure.
So I hadn't seen them since before then, this group of relatives. So literally the whole family came up, the mom, the dad, and the brother or the sisters that are my age and their family and their kids. I mean, it was like a big get-together type of a thing.
Okay.
And we're out sitting on the back of my mom's porch, and everything's like, oh, so you do what? You build things on the World Wide Web?
The World Wide Web.
Like, yeah, that's what I do.
Well, that's got to be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what is this that you do with pinball? You make pinball machines? What are you doing? And I'm like, no, I just have an arcade or a museum. Well, why is it a museum and not an arcade? Yeah, I'm like, okay, let me explain that. Oh, and you write books? What do you write about? Is it fascinating? I wish I had that skill.
Right.
Tell me a story. I swear my uncle, tell me a story, because you obviously know how to write them. I was like, okay, once upon a time.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was like, what do you mean, tell you a story? I literally went to my car and was like, here's a story. Here's a book.
Right. Here, read it for yourself.
Yeah, read it. And hopefully your Alzheimer's won't kick in until you finish, so you don't forget where you were.
Well, that kind of remind me when this show was still, well, yeah, kind of in its earlier stages, and I'm only talking within the last 10 years.
Okay.
People would ask, what is it that you do? And what do you guys do? I mean, how do you do that? And what do you guys talk about? And, what is it? What kind of a show is it? How
do you make money?
Yeah. Where do you find something like that? Can I listen to it on my radio?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't.
It's only on the World Wide Web.
Yeah. And besides, I don't think you want to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, I get that one too. I get that one from a lot of my relatives that or with me, it comes from Facebook, where people will be like, why do you always, like relatives, they'll be like, why do you always use such language on Facebook? Right,
of course.
Because every Friday or Saturday, rather, I right before the show, I always post a little thing that's like, okay, fuckies, let's fucking bring the violence and the racism, or, whatever.
Yeah, something just to, get people pumped up.
Something that people that listen to this show will be like, oh, yeah, it's fucking time.
Yeah.
But people outside of the show are like, this guy's doing what? He's promoting racism and fucking bigotry. But I think it's funny personally. And, I don't care if people are offended. So, but every once in a while, I'll get one of my 70, 80-year-old aunts that'll be like, why do you use that language? And is this the kind of thing that you talk about on your radio show? And well, you're just like a young Howard Stern, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, sure am.
So funny.
Yeah, but it is funny. Yeah, trying to convince older people what we do on this show, it doesn't translate.
No, not at all.
Because they have nothing to compare it to. You know, of course they're saying, well, I remember a DJ, Alan Freed.
Yeah.
You know, do you remember? Did you guys know Jeff and Flash? I get that a lot. I get a lot of every old time guy from WMMS.
Right.
I apparently did radio with at some point. Do you remember Len Boom Boom Goldberg? I'm like, Jesus Christ, what year was that?
Do you remember Dancing Danny Wright?
Yeah, exactly. It's like guys from like 1981.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I remember Dancing Danny on WGCL. That's right. Did you do radio with him? No. I was on in the late 90s to 2000s. That guy was in an old folks home by then.
What's John Lanigan doing these days?
Exactly. Did you ever know who Mr. Leonard really was? It's like, Mr. Leonard? Just what fucking year is this?
Do you ever listen to Dick Biondi?
Dick Biondi?
Yeah, that's a Chicago guy.
I know the name.
Yeah.
Jesus. Did you ever get to sit in with Superhost?
What was his real name? His name was Marty what?
I don't know. I hated Superhost.
Superhost. Give me back that shoe.
Give me back that shoe.
Exactly.
Superhost was the worst. And my dad would watch that fucking Saturday Superhost show like nobody's business. And it was the worst. It was, for people that don't know, back before cable, that they would try. You had your main. He was on like channel 43 or something.
Yeah, channel 43. Right? Yep.
Which was like you have your main.
It was an independent station.
Yeah, it was the smaller station amongst the big stations. Basically, we had 5, 6 channels total.
Yeah, well, I mean, you had your ABC, NBC, CBS stations.
Yeah, and then you had channel 61, which was like all really old shows, like Dennis the Menace, and shit like that. And then you had channel 43, so you had 5 channels.
And then you had PBS.
PBS and channel 25, whatever that was. That was like sort of like PBS. It was always like NASA shit and stuff. But so we had like 6 channels maybe. And I would say the most popular of them that wasn't a national channel was channel 43 around here.
Yeah, because it was a variety channel. It just had all kinds of stuff on.
Yeah. Remember John Lanigan doing the prize movie every day at 3 o'clock?
Yeah, they also had like a Bowling for Dollars on there.
Yeah. Well, they had that big rotating thing. And it's funny if you can look it up on YouTube. I don't know if there's any prize movie clips or anything out there, but when he was doing, they would give away money on the show. Mm-hmm. It was 3 hours to watch a 90-minute movie.
Right.
That by itself was terrible, but they would have these long breaks in between where they would give away money, and they would spin this. They would call somebody on the phone.
Yeah, and then the connection wasn't always that great, so it was just like, this is John Lanigan from the prize movie. Yeah. Is this Dolores? Hi, Jeff. I'm so happy to hear from you.
Either that or because it was live, half the time because they're calling in the middle of the afternoon, the people weren't home.
Right.
So they would call like 3 people before they would end up getting somebody. And then it would be on the third one, it'd be like, hey, John, how you doing? You couldn't understand what they're fucking saying. So then he would rotate the thing and go, Dolores, you've got number 22. And what did he do? He read a question or some shit?
Yeah, something like that. He did. Yeah.
But he would read the question or whatever, and then they never would get it because they weren't watching. That was part of it, was they had to sort of be watching or they wouldn't know what the questions were about.
Right.
And they weren't really watching. But then the prize money was always the thing. The prize that they would win was like $85.
Right.
Or $200. And the most I think I ever saw it get was like $600. They never were giving away like thousands of dollars.
Sure.
It was always like this fucking shit prize. It was like, man, who's going to watch and sit by their phone for $38?
Yeah, didn't they have the drum with all the phone numbers in it? And they'd have to roll the drum, and then he'd reach in and pull out a phone number.
Yep. It was so stupid. But it was so bad. But the worst part about that and Superhost, and it drove me crazy, that Superhost, let me go back a step. Superhost was kind of an ass clown version of Superman.
Right.
You know, he was sort of Superman, but it was extremely cheaply made. And he would go on these, it was just skits. It was, stupid, dumb, like improv skits that were videotaped.
Yeah,
I guess.
It was Saturday afternoon matinee movie time, and in between the movie breaks, he would do some goofy skit.
Fly into somebody's window and eat their food and then leave or something. It was so dumb. My dad would sit there. We had a fucking chaise lounge thing, and he would be on his chair, laying back in the chaise, just laughing his ass off like Superhost was the funniest fucking comedian ever.
Right.
And it was like, Dad, it's fucking Superhost, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But he would just laugh and laugh at fucking Superhost. And the thing that made Superhost so bad was that it was like really bad movies that they would cut the shit out of.
Yeah, they'd edit them out really good.
Oh, they'd edit them out really way too much. Not only just the language, but anything that could even remotely be sexualized, or a sexual statement, or, a hot chick with a fucking, her shirt being wet would be edited out, or would it blurred out or whatever. It was so bad. And it was always 3 hours for a 90-minute fucking movie with 1 million commercials in it. And it was bad movies. And my dad, back when I was, 10, 11 years old, that was kind of family time. It wasn't like I had an option to go play outside or anything. It was my dad would be like, Jason, Chris, get in here. We're going to watch the prize movie, or we're going to watch
Superhost.
Superhost.
Yeah, well, the reason I watched Superhost is because they'd always show the Three Stooges first, and then they'd get into the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and the Three Stooges weren't bad. But, I mean, dude, talk about family time. Me and my brother sitting on the couch like fucking idiots. My mom in the kitchen doing whatever she's doing, not to interrupt anything, because all the men are in the fucking living room. This is old-fashioned beyond belief. This is 70s.
Right.
But, the men are in the living room watching Superhost.
Yeah.
And my dad laying on his chaise lounge just laughing his ass off, and me just sitting there going, oh, God, what time is it? Oh, my God, it's 4:10.
Well, speaking of Superhost, the thing that I remember the most is when CB radios were so popular and that song Convoy was popular.
Oh, yeah,
Superhost made almost like a music video acting out the convoy part.
I don't remember that. Superhost was so stupid. And wasn't in real life he was like an advertising guy for the station or something?
Well, he did that, and he also did like the weekend news updates.
That's right.
He was like a serious broadcaster guy.
Yeah. But on Saturday he was Superhost. Give me back that shit.
Exactly.
You're right, Ohio Grown. John Lanigan did at one point have a wheel. Remember? He had the wheel at one time where you spin the wheel.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the wheel was about, but I think it was a different level of prize. Like they would answer their question or get their call and he'd spin the wheel.
Yeah.
$10, Mary. It's like $10.
Yeah.
Even in 1977, that was a shit prize. Who the fuck wants to win? Can you imagine ever a time in your life where you'd be like, oh, $10?
Well, I don't know if it was so much the prize that was the big deal. It's that you won on TV. You won a prize on TV, Mm-hmm. So you sort of had some notoriety for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I guess. And as a kid, I was always that kid too. I mean, dude, I still have videotapes. I gotta find this one. When I'm at my mom's for real Thanksgiving Day, I'm gonna see if she has this videotape, and if she does, I'm gonna transfer it to video for the show. I have a videotape of me appearing on Big Chuck and Little John.
Okay.
You know, and actually being part, and I was young, man. I was probably 7 years old or something, 7, 8 years old, doing a trivia contest against some other kid. And there's video of it because it was on TV. So, of course, you know, my mom and dad were like, oh, Chris is going to be on TV.
Of course.
So there's video of that somewhere. And on top of that, there is, I have cassettes of me calling in to Pete Franklin's radio show when I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
You know, calling in and getting hung up on by Pete Franklin because he didn't like to talk to kids.
Right.
You know, so he hung up on me a couple of times.
You
but
were like the CMS Mikey in your day.
I really was. I definitely, dude, the funniest one was I asked him some boxing question. He was like, it's no wonder you're 10 years old because it's obvious you're stupid. You know, and I forget what it was. It was like, who do you think's going to win, Muhammad Ali or Larry Holmes? You know, it was like 82, 83, whatever year.
Right.
And he just launched on me. He's like, no wonder you're so stupid. It's obvious you're 10 years old because you're obviously stupid.
Right. So good.
I love that, dude. You know what? And that, for whatever that's worth, I think that was definitely a contributor to what I became on the radio.
Right, of course. Early influences.
Yeah, because I didn't take it as negative. I took that as badge of honor. Fucking Pete Franklin said I was an idiot.
Right.
I was like, fuck yeah.
And he hung up on me to boot.
Yeah, that was great. Too good.
Yeah. Well, since you brought up, and we're talking Cleveland television, Cleveland, Ohio, so if you're not in the area, a lot of these references won't make sense to you, but you mentioned Big Chuck and Little John. Now, were you old enough to remember Houlihan and Big Chuck?
I was right on the end of that. Yeah. I do remember Houlihan and Big Chuck, but I was a young kid at that point.
Well, that for those of you who were not in the Cleveland area, but that was the Friday night movie guys. Mm-hmm. And they, too, would do the whole skits in between the movie breaks. Right. And just do all kinds of goofy stuff.
Yeah, and then we had, Ghoulardi after all of that.
Well, Ghoulardi actually was before Houlihan and Big Chuck, and he kind of passed that off onto them.
Yeah, and now it's like son of Ghoulardi, though, isn't there?
Yeah, the guy in Akron now, he's like son of Ghoulardi.
Yeah. Yeah, is he the same guy or the same?
No, he's just some guy who, the real Ghoulardi, who, you know, was another ghouly guy who did Friday night movies. He went off to California to do, like, voiceover work.
Right,
And so, you know, some guy, you know, wanted to resurrect the Ghoulardi character.
Empire?
Yeah, the character. And so the real Ghoulardi gave him his blessing. So he became son of Ghoulardi.
Son of Ghoulardi.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. It was so cheeseball, but we had no choices.
But that's what you had. You didn't know any different because that's all you had to watch.
That was it, dude. I mean, when you really think about it, man, if you think about watching TV back in the 70s and early 80s, which I think once cable came in, everything changed.
Of course it did.
But, man, I mean, if you tried right now to go back and just watch a 3-hour edition of Wide World of Sports, you'd fucking bang your head into a desk. You'd be like, why in the fuck was I watching this fucking, ping pong tournament or whatever?
Right.
Because sometimes they had cool sports. Sometimes they had Evel Knievel.
That was the only time I ever watched Wide World of Sports was with an Evel Knievel jump.
Dude, that was another me and my dad thing because I was into sports and my dad was always, we got to watch Wide World. Got to watch Wide World. What are they doing on Wide World? And Evel Knievel was always cool and the boxing was always cool. I loved the boxing when they would do that. But, man, they would do just some stupid fucking sports. They'd be out there fucking covering a 4-hour cross-country match. And it'd be like, okay, hey, look, coming out of the trees, there's John.
Yeah.
From Africa. He's way ahead of pace. He's got to be 10, 15 steps ahead of his. It's like, shut up. No one cares.
Well, somebody cared at that point.
No, no one did. There was just no other alternative. You had no other alternative. You know, if I remember right how it worked, Wide World of Sports was opposite the Saturday game of the week baseball during baseball season. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So if you didn't like baseball, you watched Wide World of Sports.
And they had a variety of different things going on at the same time on Wide World of Sports, because they go, well, we're going to cut back over to the tennis tournament.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, and then they go, well, let's check in with the bowling tournament here.
Yeah, and bowling was a biggie on Wide World.
Of course.
Bowling was, dude, I must have watched more fucking bowling. What was that guy's name? Anthony Weaver or something?
It was Chris Schenkel.
Schenkel was a big one.
And Nelson Burton Jr.
No, there was a guy before that. He had glasses. It was something Weaver, I think. Let me look.
But
bowling,
but the big guys at the time when I was watching it was Earl Anthony.
Earl Anthony, yeah,
was huge, and then Roth.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm thinking of Earl Anthony, not Weaver, because Earl Weaver.
Yeah, Earl Anthony was huge.
Yeah, that's the guy with the glasses.
Yeah, him.
That's him. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you always watched him.
And Johnny Petraglia.
Who was the guy with the flamboyant pants? And he had big bozo looking hair.
Oh, Roth. I think
is that Roth?
Yeah, Roth.
I just remember I just remember I'd be watching that, and I was a baseball guy.
Yeah,
you know, I loved baseball.
Sure.
I really loved it. But if it was a game my dad didn't want to watch, if it was the fucking Blue Jays and the Angels or something, he was like, "Oh no, we're not watching that. We're watching Wide World. You can go out in the garage and watch the fucking baseball game if that's what you want to do."
Sure.
We're watching Wide World on the fucking on the console.
So good.
And oh my God, we'd be watching Wide World of Sports, and he'd be all cheering for the bowling and shit. He'd be like, "Come on, Earl! Come on, Earl!" and meanwhile, you get the announcer that's treating it like it's a golf tournament.
Right.
It's like, Earl Anthony is moving up to the line.
Yeah, he's down 2 pins in this frame.
You know, this is going to be a tough one with that 6'10", but Earl's been known to make this shot before.
Right.
And here's the shot. He made it!
Oh, he got it.
He got it! Earl Anthony strikes again.
Yeah, we got Nelson Burton Jr. here. Now you've competed in these tournaments, Nelson. Give us your analysis.
Nelson, what's it like to go against a legend like Earl?
Well, I got to tell you, I got to meet Chris Schenkel and Nelson Burton Jr. at the Firestone 500 over in Fairlawn.
Really?
I did.
Phew. Well, you know, you say that you didn't like Wide World, but you seem to have a lot of people that you met from Wide World. You met Evil, you met Nelson Burton Jr.
and Chris Schenkel.
Schenkel?
Yeah.
You seem to be a groupie.
Chris Schenkel is buried just about 50 miles south of where I live.
Yeah, I was going to say he has to be dead. He was like 70
yeah,
when he was
big smoker guy, but yeah, he's like buried, you know, just south of here.
When did he die?
Boy.
2005. No. Yeah, 2005. 2005 he died.
Yeah.
And Nelson Burton Jr., he's still alive.
Well, he was a younger guy.
Yeah, he's 76.
Yeah.
Dude, that was such fun times back then, man.
Yeah, see, we were just bashing it, and now all of a sudden it's fun times.
It was fun. I mean, it was fun, but it was what we had. I mean, if we had what we had today, none of these shows could make it today.
Oh, absolutely not.
Fuck no. No one would watch Wide World of Sports. To be honest, they still have like Game of the Week on baseball or whatever, and nobody watches
it. Well, the other thing is you know, going back to that whole thing, the Olympics don't get very much you know, airplay anymore. Nobody, the ratings for watching the Olympics are like nothing these days.
Yeah, nobody cares.
And that used to be a big deal. Are you watching the Olympics this year?
Yeah. Dude, I've actually been to 2 Olympics, which is pretty cool by itself. I went to Placid in 80, and I went to, obviously I was in Korea when the Olympics hit in 88. And I mean, being there is unbelievably cool, especially 88, where I was just running around, chasing athletic women from all different countries.
Sure.
Dude, that was a scene all by itself. You read about that in my new book that's coming early next year.
Nice.
But the Olympics, being there, fun. Watching it on TV, why? Why would you watch it on TV? You don't know any of the fucking people. Dude, am I wrong in thinking in the last 30 years, the most exciting thing with the Olympics would be Tanya Harding clubbing Nancy Kerrigan?
Yeah, and that didn't even happen at the Olympics. That happened as a precursor to the Olympics when they were warming or practicing and competing to see who was going to attend. Right,
but then when they were both in it, that was the big competition.
Yeah.
Was could she overcome the adversity with Tanya being there?
Right, of course.
Yeah. So, but honestly, Olympic stuff, is there anything Olympics that has mattered since then?
Not really.
Where you think about it and you're like, oh, that was a big moment or whatever.
No, probably the biggest moment in Olympic history, as far as that I remember, was obviously when the U.S. beat the Soviets in the hockey.
Yeah, in Placid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
anything that's happened since then, couldn't even tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know any. I mean, I know some names here and there, like, that little runt Carrie Scruggs or whatever.
Yeah.
Broke her ankle or some shit, but I don't even know what she did. I've watched. I honestly, the only thing that I will watch with the Olympics, and I've talked about it on the show before, and I don't care what anybody says, it's the greatest sport in the history of the Olympics, is that fucking curling. And it's the dumbest thing ever with the guys with the brooms.
Yeah, just brushing things out of the way so that
so you can slide an iron down the fucking ice.
That is a really bizarre sport.
It's a stupid fucking
sport.
It's
bizarre.
But I'll tell you what, it is fun to fucking watch. It's just fun to sit there and just if you get into it. If you sit there and try and watch it seriously, well, then it will stink. But if you get in a room with a bunch of people and everybody's acting all silly and maybe a few drinks are flowing, it's actually fun to watch.
Anytime there's a few drinks flowing, just about anything could be fun.
Yeah, but for what I'm telling you, man, when there's curling on, I will watch it. I will absolutely grab a beer and watch some curling, and I will just be making fun of it. And the guy, just the absurdity of it. The guy. That he's down on one knee, like before he takes his shot.
Right.
He's down on one knee and he's like measuring his push off.
Right.
Whatever. And then he takes the 1-2 steps and it just slides and lets the thing go softly. And then the two idiots next to him are trying to skate down the fucking aisle with their brooms going 1,000,000 miles an hour to guide the iron a certain way.
Brush it out of the way.
It's so stupid. But I don't even know how how did that become a sport?
I have no idea. Know nothing about it.
Dude, that's like in line with the early days of ESPN when they used to do shit like The Strongest Man, where they would pick up rocks and put them on top of, barrels and shit like that.
Yeah.
And do you remember log tossing?
Yeah, absolutely.
That it's in line with that, with like log tossing. And log tossing was, I'm as dumb as this sounds, I would watch me some log tossing all the time. I liked the log. Early ESPN, just like everything else, early ESPN was great because they didn't have any licenses for any of the real sports. So they'd be doing remember they were the big one for Australian rules football.
Right.
And I used to watch Australian rules football like no one's been. I knew all the teams and everything. Because I would watch it every single week. I loved Australian rules football. It is I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's a terrible sport. It's like rugby, kind of. But, they beat the shit out of each other, but then they have a little kind of, it's like a 3-pronged goal post. And midway when they're running, they just kick the ball and try and get it through this fucking goalpost. and when it goes through, the guy, the official, he does this thing where it's like the old fashioned when you were kids playing cowboys, he does this thing where he's like pulling out his guns and he goes, yeah, and that's the signal that you scored a goal, is him like pulling the fingers out and pointing them forward. He's like, ta-da!
Yeah, pow.
It's like, what the fuck is this sport?
Hail and Kill, call. You're on the air.
Hey guys, Dan from High Ground. How you doing today? Hail, Kill.
Hello.
Hey, I just want to remind you that Michael Phelps was a pretty big fucking deal in the Olympics, and so were them two jigaboos throwing them arms up in the air. Just want to remind you. Thanks. Hail, Kill.
Which jigaboos were those?
I think he's talking about, what was that, 72 or whatever, the Panthers, Black Panthers, when they won their shit and they put their gloved hands in the air.
You know what? Makes no reference to me. I don't know.
That was a big moment, but that was in the 70s.
Yeah.
That was in the He's right about Michael Phelps.
That is true, and the only other two notable stars that I can think of that kind of stood out too was obviously Nadia Comaneci.
All right, well that's like 1980 as well.
Yeah, and then of course Mary Lou Retton.
Yeah, Oksana Bayul.
Because she was just like a little short, little sawed-off little runt, and she just do those bars and stuff.
Yeah, dude, did I ever tell the story on the show about my roommate in Korea that banged Mary Lou Retton?
Really?
Yeah,
I heard she's single again.
I wouldn't hit it, but I probably would. But
just for the story, of course.
Just for the story, of course.
But I heard she got divorced like 6 months ago.
I did not hear that, but dude, when we were in Korea for the Olympics, and a lot of this is going to be in the new book, but when we were in Korea for the Olympics, all of the athletes and the gymnasts and the people from NBC were all over our little town of Itaewon, because that was like where the soldiers were, and it was like more English than downtown Seoul. So they were always down there partying, and we would party with whoever. I mean, we knew the area, so we would just be down there and just having fun and whatever. And dude, one of the most fun nights we ever had down there was fucking what's his name? I hate him now, but I loved him for one night. Bob Costas.
Yeah, Bob Costas.
He was there with the NBC fucking credit card, buying the whole bar at the Heavy Metal Club drinks.
Nice.
Just for like the whole night, not like just like one round. Like he was in there 4 hours and nobody was paying for drinks because Bob Costas was buying drinks for everybody.
He had NBC money.
He did, and it was. But the one thing was that you could meet a lot of the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have pictures, and I used to have pictures before I got divorced, I guess, but I had pictures of me and Georgetta with Pernell Whitaker and Tyrell Biggs and Roy Jones Jr., because they used to train on our base, and then they would come up. Our barracks was like one building away from the gym. So they would come up, they would walk up the hill and bum cigarettes and stuff off of us because they couldn't go into the PX or anywhere to buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They would come up and buy cigarettes. So we took pictures with them and gave them smokes. So we got to hanging out during the Olympics with a lot of the athletes. Well, we were downtown, and Mary Lou Retton was fucked up in one of the clubs.
Really?
She was just down there just fucked up.
I'm surprised. I was under the impression that when these athletes are, at the Olympics, that they got pretty strict regimen.
Well, maybe they do now, but they didn't then. I mean, most of the athletes were partying their asses off.
I'll be damned.
It was crazy. But my buddy Jeff said to me, he's like, I'm gonna go hit on her, man. She's fucked up. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. That's not going anywhere. And sure enough, he went over, sat down with her, had a drink or two with her, left with her, and went back to her hotel and banged her.
Allegedly.
I wasn't there. I don't have proof of it, but
right.
He swore he did.
Okay.
And he had pictures with her. Like, he took a bunch of pictures with her in her hotel room.
Nice.
So I was like, okay, cool. Well, and that was the thing with the Olympics, dude. You would think that they'd be on a strict regimen, but really, they're young people. They're away from home. Most of them are away from their boyfriends, the chicks. So, dude, it was easy pickings. I know I banged a German swimmer. I couldn't even speak to her, but I was able to communicate that.
Right.
I was able to communicate. Let's go, and we left, and we went back to the fucking Naija hotel. Fucking banged the hell out of her.
Wow.
It was fun. Good times.
Yeah, good times. Well,
yeah.
Life was a little more simpler then.
It really was. It's funny because, even like with Korea and stuff, I look at that time in Korea, and it's like before there's a distinct difference of before Olympics and after Olympics. Before that, because I was there for both. I got there in January of 87, and the Olympics were in 88, and I left there in March of 89. So I saw both halves, and I mean, the first 8 months that I was there, it was like a third world nation, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was barely civilized outside of downtown Seoul. If you went 15 miles any direction of Seoul, you were out in the fucking rice paddies.
Right.
I mean, it was old-fashioned, guys out there fucking plowing their goddamn rice paddies with what are those things, oxes or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, that's not a horse. Is that an ox that they use back in the old days?
Sure.
They're out there doing that. But then after the Olympics, when all that Olympic money came in, because, I mean, billions of dollars came into their economy. And then after that, it was a whole different environment. It was really, really different, but fun, dude. No complaints from me. I loved it. Are you kidding?
Well, with all that activity going on there, and obviously the Olympics itself happening there,
mm-hmm.
That definitely had to be a very interesting time to be there.
Dude, not only was it interesting to be there, but my commander or my boss basically had the best policy of anybody. His deal was, if you have tickets to the Olympics, you don't have to come to work, because they recognized that it was it was a special thing.
Yeah, it's a one-time event.
Yeah. So, I had tickets to something every day. I went to opening and closing ceremonies, and I went to some bullshit stuff, and sometimes I just didn't even go, but I just had tickets, for round one of fucking ping pong or whatever. Just because the tickets were like $4, so I was like, okay, that'll get me out of work for $4. I'm going. But I had tickets. It was 21 total days, and I didn't go. I did nothing but party at the Olympic Village and then in Itaewon for 21 days, 3 weeks. It was fun, man.
I would imagine.
Good
well,
times.
that should make a interesting reading in your forthcoming book.
Yeah, well, the chapters are. I was actually reading today. Was book day, kind of. I got my proof of the Judas Priest book today, and it looks really good. But it prompted me to actually open up. I have to. It's been a long time since I really penned much in the Korea book. So I started reading it again, because I got to figure out where I am so I don't repeat myself, with some of the stories. And so I was reading some of it, and my God, dude, if it wasn't me that experienced it, I wouldn't even believe some of the shit in this one. Just stories about fucking getting jerked off and coming on a hooker's fucking arm in the middle of the street, and then refusing to pay her because we hadn't worked out a price.
Wow.
Just stupid shit. I mean, that was a different fucking place, man. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, I'm trying to, but it's like nothing. What I do know most is when I came back home after 2.5 years there, it took me years to get comfortable again. I felt imprisoned here.
Right, of course.
Because being there was so out of control. And I mean, dude, I mean, even stuff that wasn't even sexual stuff, just being downtown with a bottle of fucking Yukon Jack, playing quarters with Yukon Jack until everybody was fucking passed out, and just falling asleep in the bar and nobody would fuck with you. just left you there. They just left you passed out in the booth until they were ready to close. And most of the places never closed. They were open like 24 hours. As long as you bought something there, they didn't give a shit.
Right.
It was just so different, man. And you know, it was for a kid like me, and I was a kid. I mean, I was 18 years old when I got there. 18, no life experience, wild, and had a license, a get out of jail free card in my pocket because I was the general's driver. You know, I was his bodyguard, so they weren't going to leave me in jail. And you know, I still remember when I first got to Korea. That, you know, when I first got there and I met with the general, and then I met with his AG to real. You know, you meet with the general. It's like, how you doing, sir? Nice to meet you. You know, anything I can do for you? Blah 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 blah. You know, that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you meet with the AG, who's a captain usually. Mine was a captain, and he's the hardline guy. He's like, this is how you're gonna fucking do it. You're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that. You're gonna do this, and if you ever get in trouble, and I remember this specifically, he's like, if you ever get in trouble, you have the police call this number, but don't get in trouble. You know, that was his thing. But don't get in trouble. And you know how I translated that? I can call this number if I get in trouble.
Right.
You know, and I lived it. I mean, 5, 6, 7 times I got arrested over there for fighting or whatever. Most of it was just fighting. But, you know, I just never would hesitate. You know, where everybody else had that modicum of control, I was like, well, fuck, I'm allowed to fucking punch somebody in the face if I want to. So, you know, it was just the way it was, man. Crazy.
Yeah, you're like a Amish kid on Rumspringa.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, I think we should take a short break here.
No, I'm going to talk for another hour just because Tyrant said my manager's calling.
Oh,
Get
really?
your own show, dickhead!
Oh, so you're in the chat room now?
Yeah, they fixed it, apparently.
Finally got in there. Well, anyway, I got a request here in the chat room earlier this evening. I saw a request in there for a band to the north out of Regina, Canada.
Okay.
Kick-Axe.
Oh, Kick-Axe. I like them.
Yeah. So they wanted to hear something from the Vice's release, so I'm going to play some Kick-Axe.
Is that Steve Blaze?
No, he's in Neeley and Axe.
Neeley and Chris. All right, I don't even know who I'm talking about.
These are our Canadian friends.
Maybe my manager is calling.
But, yeah, Kick-Axe from the Vice's release, and this one is called On the Road to Rock.
All right.
So here it is. It's Kick-Axe exclusively here.
On your Classic Metal Show.
Hi there, this is Victor Langan of Kick-Axe, and you're listening to Neeley and Chris on the Classic Metal Show.